Also, thank you to all of you in the chat who have been very patient waiting for this to start as well while we've had the issues with Xbox Live. And hopefully everything is ready to go. Everyone is now ready. And we are now loading in to the session, hopefully. So, of course, again, I want to give a shout out, massive thank you to Codemasters and Formula 1 for providing us with the Esports Series. Obviously, F1 making its debut into the esports territory. And hopefully we can bring you, an exciting race to kick it all off this week with the qualifying officially starting from now. As qualifying will now officially commence. It's if you guys have just joined, it's a 12-minute qualifying, and we are already off. We're ready to go as the qualifying session has begun here in Shanghai, and should be interesting who is going to be the first one to go. And hopefully we won't have anyone parking the car, of course, as we had in the first lobby we attempted at this. So we're just waiting to see who's going to be the first one to come out. Hopefully it's the Toro Rosso again. We'll wait and see who's going to be. Everyone's going to be frantically trying to get their setups on and get onto the circuit first, so they have a clean track. And we see someone making a move down there, and we have got a McLaren of EP3 Murphy, the first driver to make his way. Actually, no, he's been beaten actually by Knopels in the Sauber, and off we go. And everything is looking smooth, Matt, on my side, which is obviously a great start.
It's looking smooth as well on my end. Sauber trying to get some heat into his tyres at the front, and obviously these guys want to be trying to find as much track space as they possibly can. Obviously, they want to try this first run. Will probably be a bit of a warm-up run. Try and obviously make sure they're all set up, all dialed in, and ready to go. And it'll probably be, close to the end of the session where we really see some quick times coming in. Obviously, where Codemasters have reduced the qualifying time from 18 minutes down to 12 on this game, it really does make it obviously more frantic. If you make a mistake, it could cost you a big time in the long run during these sessions.
Indeed, and it's like a real-life Q3 right here for these drivers. They're going to have, realistically, I think, 2 runs in them, but maybe some of them may try and go aggressive and go on for maybe 3 stints if possible, if they can get around very quickly. As we're just on board with the Sauber of Knopels as he's coming in to the final sector then, and the long straight awaits him here, and plenty of chances of overtaking going to be happening down here with the DRS just popping up any minute. Here you can just see the sign. And if you're new to Formula 1, of course, if the car behind is a second, so for example here, if Knopels, actually the Toro Rosso Murphy behind him is a second behind the Sauber, then the Toro Rosso will get the DRS down this long straight and have a chance at overtaking. But these cars, Matt, as you may know in real life, very tricky to overtake even with DRS because of the recent changes to the car as Knopels starts his lap.
Yeah, obviously the cars this year have got a huge amount more downforce. So it's obviously all the cars are probably a tiny bit slower than they were down the straights in 2016. So they struggle to try and make overtakes, but around such a long straight like we have at China, I think it's about 1.2 miles. They can still certainly get a good, decent run. But Knopels so far, he's setting a fairly clean first couple of corners there. Trying to keep it nice and tidy there. His Sauber teammate actually moving out of the way there. Huge lockup down towards the start of Sector 2, but he just wants to try and keep it nice and tidy early on during this run. But would you take it a bit more conservative, or would you just try and thrash the car around to try and get a couple of really, really quick laps in?
It depends really, because obviously the tyres as well have made a big change from 2016. They're bigger, they're wider, and more duration on them as well. As we're going to watch Ben here, Tiametmarduk UK. Obviously, a lot of people will know who this guy is as one of the biggest YouTubers in the F1 community here, as he's going through the middle sector there. And he's taking it very smoothly, I've got to say. Very crucial corner coming up here, this double left-hander. You've got to be so careful on the throttle here, as you may lose that back end and go wide onto the AstroTurf and spin it. But he's put it very calmly there, did Ben, as he's coming in to the final set. And a little bit of a lock-up on the front left tyre, actually, as he's making his way around the second snail section of the circuit here, as he's come on to the long straight, as we've got 8 minutes to go then here in Shanghai for this first qualifying session of the Esports Series here on F1 2017, and the DRS will open wide for the Haas, as thankfully a car has got out of the way of Tiametmarduk, and Knopels gets the first time on the board with a 33.5 as Ben comes into the final corner. And there's VBR Raikkonen now goes pole with a 33.1 as here he comes into the final corner, and the Haas, he's going to take it smoothly. He does indeed, gets a good exit, deploys the DRS again, and is Tiametmarduk going to be on pole? No, he's in second place, 2 tenths off the best time so far by VBR Raikkonen. One man to keep an eye on though, I feel, is this man, TRL Limitless in the Sauber. He's just started his hot lap, Matt. And Limitless, of course, you know, is a driver on the pad as an Evo goes pole with a 32.6. But Matt, how would TRL Limitless be feeling here to be competing against people on wheels compared to the pad users on there as Finn gets a 32.4 and takes provisional pole?
Well, I think, yeah, for JD, this game, obviously, there's a lot of talks about if the pad is quicker or the wheel is quicker. I think it is one of the closest games we've ever had, and that is absolutely brilliant. Obviously means that people like JD get a fair shot, and obviously the drivers on wheels get a good chance to try and set the fastest times. A lot of people have said, sort of on one lap pace, the pad may have a slight advantage, but personally, you know, I personally feel it makes more difference in terms of the driver over the components that they are using. But obviously JD, one of the quickest guys on this game, one of the quickest guys we've seen throughout the whole F1 franchise, and if anyone's going to be able to pull a lap out of the bag on a pad, it is certainly going to be JD. Comes on to the long back straight that deploys DRS around about now, and he is going to have a long run, only able to do about 206, 207 miles an hour down in towards the heavy braking zone. Want to brake just after the 150 meter board, down into the slowest corner on the circuit there, through the hairpin, and now he's just got to try and focus on this final left-hand corner here. He's going to attack the curbs on the inside, attack the curbs on the outside, run a little bit wide, but down towards the line. He is going to go up into pole position there on a 1:32.4, and if I'm not mistaken, he has only outdone Finn by, it was definitely less than a tenth there. I think there was very little in it. 2 1/1000ths of a second is the answer to your question, Matt. Very close. Noble, I did follow him. He is in P4 now. He was third originally, but he's dropped to fourth. 2 tenths off the pace of TRL Limitless at the minute. So, obviously Noble, a veteran of AOR, one of the most successful drivers on the Xbox side, and definitely one to keep an eye on. I know Noble very well. He likes to take it easy on his first run, and then his second run he will go absolutely mad crazy. Like, it brings his inner Lewis Hamilton out of him, and will get that pole position, hopefully for him, as he makes his way back to the pits. And we'll see if anyone is out on the circuit at the minute. We've got TRL Limitless. I think he's going to be making his way back to the pits, as we've got a few people making a frantic rush back to the pit lane to try and get another run on there. And I'm just trying to see if anyone's out on the circuit. We've got xXMGX in the Red Bull, the Swedish driver coming on to the back straight, currently in P13, around 3 seconds off the pace at the minute, but he may be just warming his tyres up, maybe going for a second run. We'll go on board with the Red Bull driver coming down the long straight towards the heavy braking hairpin section, which we are going to see some overtakes happening around here. So we'll see if anyone's going to be very brave on the brakes here, coming out of that corner towards the last corner. Is he going to get this one right, or is he going to dive into the pits? He is going into the pits, unfortunately. So was going to do a lap of the circuit, but unfortunately no one is coming out yet, as it is TRL Limitless. Then I believe he's going to come into the pits with 4.5 minutes still to go in the session. One run really for these drivers. Some may put a little bit of fuel in and maybe do 2 laps if they can, because these tyres can run a little bit longer than we of course seen in F1 2016. So be interesting to see what the strategists will be thinking about right now, as we see the Flying Finn making his way out of the pits with 4 minutes to go. Yeah, obviously a lap around this circuit, as we will have seen, in the 1:32s. So if you want to try and go out for a very late run, you probably, if you're only planning to try and get 1 lap in, you want to be leaving the pit lane with about 2 minutes to go left in the session. I'm on board currently with VBR Raikkonen, one of the first guys to actually go back out onto the circuit. He went out with about 4.5 minutes to go, so very early. I'm thinking he will most likely go for 2 runs here, and at the moment he is 6th place, 7 tenths off pole. And if he can try and get a few tenths out of the car, it'll be interesting to see if he can really try and attack the top 4. But obviously for him, if he gets a clean lap in nice and soon, obviously he's got a little bit more time than a few other drivers. But he might have a few issues in terms of obviously traffic when they do all come out onto their runs. One of the big risks that you do obviously run, if you try and come out of the pits a little bit earlier, try to get a bit of a double run in, then you may end up with a few cars sort of in the way, trying to make sure they are finding their own space. And obviously with 15 cars in what is effectively Q3, it does mean that trying to find that ultimate part of the circuit available to yourself just makes even more difficult.
Indeed, and as we're going to see VBR Raikkonen, maybe he's come out a bit earlier to do 1 lap while there's no one on the circuit. Clean traffic, clean air is crucial in qualifying. As you mentioned, the dirty air on this game can be proven to be difficult if you're behind someone. So here's VBR Raikkonen then, as we're going to go on board with him. And as I said that, he's got a couple of cars on the circuit as, oh, and that's definitely cost him there as Danny has left the session, unfortunately, so I don't know what's happening right now, Matt. Are you still there?
I am still here. I think it was just Danny that had...
It was just Danny, are you sure?
I'm pretty certain it was just Danny. He was in the Ferrari as well, but Raikkonen has straight away backed off that run.
Yep, he's bailed
a little bit lag for him there, but that's obviously the benefit. If you do opt to go out a little bit earlier in the session, then it does give you a chance. If something a little bit, you know, sort of uncommon, I think is the right word to say, if something like that does happen, then you do obviously have that spare time extra. So Raikkonen playing, I think, conservatively, I think is the right way to describe it. He's a very quick driver, like, well, all of these drivers are in this series, so you know, all these guys know exactly what they're doing, know exactly what their plans are, but it's obviously interesting to see if it can work out for them.
It will, as we go on board now with NLR Evo in the Ferraris. He's about to start a lap then with only 1 minute and 44 seconds to go. This is probably last chance saloon for some of these guys right now. So we're going to go on board with the Ferrari then and give you guys a lap of the circuit here, going through turn 1. The sweeping right-hander here, crucial to get this line right, well, basically perfect. And Evo is just showing us how to do it absolutely to perfection. Right there, a little bit of a lock-up on the front left there, just push him a little bit wide. And then it's crucial to get this exit right as he just loses that back end there, coming then towards the start of the middle sector. And he's only 2 tenths off in the first sector, as you can see, or his best time actually. He's only 2 tenths off the best pole time right now as he gets a beautiful exit going through now to probably one of my favourite sections of the circuit. This fast left-hander completely flat in 7th gear. You can see that there with the throttle input from Evo, and it's a double shift to 5th here as we go into the double left. A very crucial corner to get right here on the exit as well, as you don't want that wide like Evo's done there. Gets away with it though as he comes into the final sector then, a heavy braking section here before we go on to the back straight there. And he's doing pretty well so far. He's taking it very cleanly, very aggressive as well, which we want to see as well, as Leigh goes on pole with a 32.2. So the times are tumbling and the track evolution is coming out right now, Matt, and we could see some times here possibly in the 31s potentially.
Yeah, I was just going to say, NRL Evo before this lap was actually tied to the millisecond with Noble 2909. STSF1 Alonso has moved up into P4. Overall, just 13,000 slower than his brother Flying Finn, and 15,000 slower than we saw JD. Sorry, but coming down towards the line, NRL Evo, he does go pole, a 1 minute 32.2 there. He's not going to opt to go for another run. Very, very quick lap there by him. If I'm not mistaken, he has out-qualified Leigh by just 5 thousandths of a second there. So there is nothing to separate these guys at the moment. That is like 25 centimeters worth of track distance at most.
Got an interesting moment here. TRL Limitless in the last sector then. He's only 2 tenths off the pole time, but he's got someone ahead of him here. I think it's a Red Bull. I'm not 100% sure. So we've got to go into the spec. It is a Red Bull indeed, but he's got a nice distance, so he may even get the possibility of some slipstream here as well, which is going to help him massively. But here comes TRL Limitless then down the back, the long straight here, and deploys the DRS, and I think the Red Bull's already got out of the... Well, no, he's not actually. I thought he would have got out of the way. Flying Finn goes on pole then with a 32.1, but all eyes will be on TRL Limitless here as he comes out of the penultimate corner, and the traffic's not going to help him a little bit, but they've been alright. They've been picking up the pace up, which is good, as Leigh goes pole again with a 32 flat, but here comes TRL Limitless. Is he going to get pole position here in China? And he doesn't. He only stays in P4, so he must have bailed on the lap there. I'm pretty sure Knopels is in the pits, and Murphy here coming into the final corner. No, he's bailed on his lap, and that will complete qualifying then for this first round of the F1 2017 Esports Series here on the Xbox One. And, wow, what a qualifying session that was. The track evolution just showed there. Last minute, you have to just go on there, and some big surprises I've got to say, Matt. What did you think to that qualifying session right there?
Well, Leigh with a 1 minute 32.047, a massively, massively quick lap. Flying Finn just over a tenth behind him there, so that is, you know, in this sort of competition, that is absolutely huge, but very, very well done to Leigh. An absolutely stonking lap. NRL Evo on a 1 minute 32.3, and then Limitless, he actually improved on his final run. He would have gone up into P2, but he actually invalidated his lap. I think that was at the final corner where he made that mistake. So unfortunate for Limitless there. He was on for second place there. He might have even been able to make first. But yeah, unfortunately, he will start P4. Certainly not far down the grid. Don't get me wrong. But having a look further down, we've got ESR Ryan actually opted only to go out on a set of softs. So an interesting strategy by him there. He starts outside the top 10 with icebergs, Coldhead, SoKinKy and Ryan and Danny M7 there. So 2 of the ESR drivers, unfortunately, they're not making it into the top 10.
Yep, just showing the viewers the top 13 at the minute, as well as we're just waiting for Murphy to retire from the session so we can go into the race. But as you mentioned, ESR Ryan, the only driver on the soft tyres I can see on my screen. So interesting strategy there for Ryan. Of course, the 11th place downwards, so Icebergs, Coldhead, Ryan, SoKinKy, Danny will all be on fresh set of tyres as well. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see what strategies they go on. Once we just wait, we've got 6 seconds to go before we head in there. So we'll give you the actual classifications of the times, and then we'll head into the race then. As there is your grid then. So Leigh, 32 flat, only a 10th quicker than the Flying Finn in second, with Evo in third, with TRL Limitless in fourth, with STSF1 Alonso14 in 5th place. VBR Raikkonen in 6th. Knopels, surprisingly, down in 7th place, 6 tenths off the fastest time, which is quite a surprise actually for Noble to be down that low. But hopefully we can see him on his race pace. Tiametmarduk, pretty good job for him in P8 in the Haas, with Murphy in 9th, and Knopels completes the top 10, and the rest of the field is on your screen right there. So early indications, it seems that we could be in for quite an interesting Grand Prix here, and strategy is going to be the crucial part to winning this race, Matt.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be interesting to see if these guys can try and stretch the one stop. You know, it might even be a blessing in disguise for some of the guys outside the top 10. You know, those 2 ESR boys, I highly doubt. You know, I have a lot of faith in both their guys' pace. So, you know, maybe starting on the softs, they could try and one stop, and maybe it could be, you know, it's about 25-second pit lane around this circuit. So it could really make or break their races, to be honest.
It will. So we're just making our transition into the race session, and it looks a bit cloudy for this one. So maybe a hint of rain possibly in the air. As we know, China can be well known for its weather at some stage. So we could see quite a nice twist to this race here in China. But we've got 20 seconds to go before the drivers will head to the grid. And we will alliterate. There is no formation lap as there are some issues with it. So we've been advised to turn it off for this one, so we're going to jump straight into this one, and we've got 9 seconds to go. Who is going to win this race? Let us know in the comments, guys, to the stream, and we'll try and pick some out as we go along here. As we are just round to go now. The lights are on, and here we go then. 5 red lights for the first round of the Esports Series on F1 2017. We are away here in China, and Leigh gets a great start off the line in the Renault. As a good start from the Flying Finn as well. He's got the inside line going into turn 1. Is he going to get the move stick? No, he doesn't. Leigh holding it brilliantly on the outside in the Renault, and it's going to be very close. The wheel banging, the Ferrari's gone off in the background as well. But Leigh holding very nicely, defending brilliantly there to hold on to the lead of the Grand Prix, but Flying Finn still in the midst as well. TRL Limitless up to 3rd place already, and Alonso also up to 4th in the McLaren. But Matt, what a good start as well. Good clean from the entire field as well. And actually, Limitless is trying to make a move on the Flying Finn, actually. So, Matt, do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, Limitless trying to have a look down the inside in towards the S section here. Is he going to be able to get the car through? They're still side by side. Finn will have the inside for the second part of the sector, but then into the double left-hander once again. Limitless will have the inside here, so a lot of track position changing, and Limitless seems to be down the inside there. He squeezes Finn out wide off the circuit there and does make that move stick. So TRL Limitless up into P2
and Alonso,
the McLaren Honda. Alonso trying to look down the inside of his brother there as well, but unfortunately he's not able to make that move stick. But Limitless going for that move has massively helped out Leigh. You know, he's already got sort of a 3 car length advantage as they come onto the long back straight here, all slipstreaming, trying to get as good run as possible.
And I've got to say, the big mover is VBR Raikkonen in P4. He's a great start for him in there, and he's under pressure then from, and he's locked up, I think, and he's gone very wide into the hairpin. Luckily avoids any cars and comes back on safely, but he's gone from 4th to 7th at the end of the first lap. And Knopels, you got to say, he's keeping it very calm in P5 at the minute, so he's made a little bit of ground at the minute, as we've got a Sauber in the pits in the background. I'm pretty sure that is Knopels. We'll see what he's doing, if he got a penalty or he hasn't got any damage, so I'm going to guess this is going to be a drive-through penalty. Oh no, the mechanics are out in the pit, so this could be a tactical decision maybe. Maybe he's thinking there's rain in the air, and maybe he's going to go on to the soft tyres. So, doesn't seem any form of damage though on the car, so maybe this is a tactical decision here from Knopels. So, interesting there, I've got to say, Matt. Very early.
Yeah, very, very early to be trying it. You know, maybe he's going on to a two-stop strategy. We do not know just yet. But I'm on board currently with Noble as he's starting to apply the pressure to STSF1 Alonso. The top two actually have started to make a bit of a breakaway there, and I'm actually no idea where Finn has gone from P3 in the Grand Prix there. I can't seem to find him. I can have a look.
He is in P9.
Down the field. He is down into P9 there, so actually not too sure what's happened to Finn there. I must have missed something from his screen. But yeah, Noble trying to apply pressure to STSF1 Alonso as they come through the second snaking sector. All of the guys getting a lot of counter steer there, you know, trying to push the car to the absolute limits in the early stages of this race.
Indeed. Luckily for Alonso, the DRS is not enabled yet. On the next lap it will, so he may be under pressure from Noble, but you got to say, I think Noble's just going to keep it cool at the minute. Still, what, 27 laps to go, so he's got plenty of time to make ground here, but these aren't that far away for him, so he's going to be thinking at this point, it's still a long way to go. He can pick up the pace as Limitless gets the fastest lap of the race, by the way, with 36.1, and the gap at the front is only half a second, so Bamley's starting to lose a little. Maybe the tyres are going off for him. Maybe he's gone for an aggressive setup on his tyre wear. We will wait and see, because the setups are crucial on this game in terms of your tyre life and degradation. So we'll see who blinks first, who's going to try and do an undercut, who's going to try the overcut strategy. We will wait and see, because obviously the new tyre regulations, of course, makes this season unpredictable for strategies. People may try and do one, some may do two stops. We'll have to wait and see, but Bamley really starting to lose a little bit of grip in those tyres, on the rears especially. The car dancing all over the place in that start of the second sector, so maybe he's struggling that. Maybe he's having issues in the first sector, maybe second sector is more comfortable, so...
I've just seen the first spots of rain, actually. I'm not too sure if that's just a bit of a weird glitch on my screen there, but I think actually, yes, it is raining in the early stages of this Grand Prix, so this is really going to change up the whole race entirely. Limitless all over the back of Bamley, so maybe, you know, he's got a little bit more confidence in these damper conditions here, and with the DRS it should still be enabled. This could be an ultimate run for TRL Limitless here. Bamley, he's going to try and hold a normal line. Limitless tries to look to the outside there, but absolutely nowhere for him to go, and down in towards the next braking zone. He's just going to be alongside, brakes a little bit later into the corner, parks it nicely on the apex there. A bit of contact as he tries to squeeze Bamley out there, but Limitless now leads the Chinese Grand Prix here, and this, you know, from, I think it was P4, P5 on the grid, after making a bit of a mistake on his final run. This is the perfect start for TRL Limitless.
It is indeed, but all now depends on who's going to blink first for inters if it stays raining. That is the big question. Obviously, Commentators have updated the weather system on the game, so it makes it even more predictable on what tyre is best to be on in these conditions. But it looks like, I don't know if you can agree with me on this one, Matt, but it is going to get heavier right now. It's intensifying a little bit quickly right now, and I will say Noble's not catching up to Alonso at the minute, so as he has a massive lockup there going into the hairpin right there, but it is getting a bit heavier there, so we could see people coming in a bit early for intermediates on there, as the engineer will be probably telling them to pit very shortly. But there is still a bit of blue sky in the air, in the atmosphere, so we don't know if this rain's going to stay or it's going to continue on. We don't know this, so we are in the dark, of course, so we'll have to wait and see. As the DRS is still enabled, so once it gets too wet, then the stewards will declare, or the game will turn it off, actually. As I've got to say, the mid-pack looks very interesting. We're going to go on board with Tiametmarduk. He's currently in P5 at the minute in the Haas, and he's only 3.5 seconds off the race leader of TRL Limitless, so you can't really count anyone out, as Knopels is the first man, unfortunately, to retire from the Grand Prix. And that is a bit of a disappointment for him, and a bit of a shaky start for him if he wants to try and get into the semi-finals in London in a few weeks' time. But you've got to say, you can't count Ben out, Matt, at this point. Even the Flying Finn as well, who's down in 7th place. Even though he had a shaky start, they're not that far away from each other. The top 7 only covered by 6 seconds.
Yeah, obviously, if with the conditions the way they are at the moment, if one of these guys opts to take a bit of a risky strategy, they might be able to make up a few gains. But one thing I will say about these Chinese Grand Prix circuit on the F1 2017 game, it seems to be very, very grippy still in damp conditions. I find personally you can actually take the dry tyres a little bit further in stints on this game. Around at this specific circuit, I found if it's starting to rain a little bit like this, if it stays like this, then drivers might not even want to come onto the intermediate tyres. But obviously, if it rains more and more, then they will have to obviously be more inclined to make the switch over. But Noble, He seems to be closing in on STSF1 Alonso in certain places, but I think they are both closing in on Ban Leigh in second place there. And TRL Limitless, I think, is starting. He's definitely not made a huge breakaway, don't get me wrong, but I think he is starting to push a little bit further away from Leigh in second place there, as I think he might still be trying to fit. He's still feeling a bit more pressurized from the guys behind than trying to focus on Limitless in the lead.
He is, and he's only 1.1 seconds away, so he's just off the DRS that we would normally get if it's a second or less. So a bit annoying for him, but the interesting one is Alonso. We're going to go on board with Noble, actually. I want to see if Alonso doesn't have DRS, actually, so Noble's going to be catching him very rapidly here. Looks for a move, but decides to back out of it at the last minute, and there's a bit of a lock-up there. But I think the top four are all going to be all bunched up in a minute because the gap's only 2.8 seconds. But they are, to be fair, putting away from 5th place Tiametmarduk at the minute, as they're going to continue on in these wet conditions. It still doesn't seem to be wet for the intermediates, but a lot of cars at the back there, you can see Flying Finn, I think that was, having a little dance there out of the last corner, but still got that DRS there, so he's going to try and get past VBR Raikkonen and Tiametmarduk at the minute.
Yeah, Tiametmarduk starting to look a little bit, you know, a bit more cautious in these conditions at the moment. Obviously, 5th place for him would be a very, very good result in the first race of the series, but Raikkonen and Finn behind him, two quite big names on this game. He might start to struggle to try and keep those guys behind him, but at the moment the top, well, 2nd to 4th is really starting to bunch up a little bit more, and this is just perfect for TRL Limitless at the moment. If he can try and gap Ban Leigh even more at the moment, he's lost another about 0.4 of a second so far on this lap, and you know, for Limitless, this is just filling him with confidence. Alonso now is about 0.6 behind Ban Leigh in 2nd place, and Noble is about 0.6 behind Alonso. So 2nd to 4th, obviously with the DRS, could become very, very tight over the next couple of laps. But Ben just behind, starting to lose out on a little bit of ground at the moment as he's trying to focus on keeping the positions behind him from Raikkonen and Flying Finn. Coldhead there has unfortunately retired in these very tricky conditions at the moment. Very, very unfortunate for him as well. But do we think Ben can hold on to the positions at the moment, Ryan?
It depends. We don't know if these guys have had any practice in the wet, because we don't know. As he's actually under pressure from the Toro Rosso of VBR Raikkonen, as he has a little bit of a lockup. But I think Ben's starting to form a little bit of train as he loses the back end there, but manages to save it. But he is starting to form a bit of a train, and I think some of these cars behind him are going to be a little bit frustrated at the minute trying to get past the Haas drive, and they've got to be careful as well because Ben is from Australia, and the connection could be a bit of an issue for some of these drivers who have to wait and see as VBR Raikkonen looks like go for a move, but just can't get it done. And actually, Ben's run wide. He's run very wide actually at turn 1 and loses 2 positions to Raikkonen and Finn, and he's going to try and defend on the inside from the Ferrari of, I believe it's Evo. And is he going to hold it there? We're going to go on board with Evo, and actually he's done it round the outside. Fair play to Evo and gets the position done, but Ben's coming back at him, but backs out of it. But Ben there dropping from 5th down to 8th. Not what you wanted to see.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake from Ben through turn 1. He must be gutted with that one. You know, such an easy mistake to make around this Chinese circuit. When the grip starts to fade, if you get 2 wheels out on that grass, you know, it just has a nature of pulling you further and further away from the circuit there. But a little bit unlucky as well for him. You know, he just had all 3 of those guys piling on so much pressure. Raikkonen looked like he was going to attempt to move it down in towards turn 1, which probably put Ben off a little bit more than he would have liked there, but he's lost 3 places from this. Certainly, you know, this is far from over for him as well, though. So we've got Evo looking like he could potentially get a good run on Finn down this next back straight. He is obviously, if the slipstream, I think the DRS is still enabled at the moment. He'll definitely have the slipstream as well. DRS, yep, he still can use that here, but Finn has got DRS from Raikkonen ahead of him there, but he's not going to have it anywhere near as much slipstream here. Evo going to have a look down the inside there, brakes ever so slightly later, locking up both front wheels there, but Finn, he's going to try and go for the switchback there. Is Finn going to be able to make this work? I don't think he is. NLR Evo gets very, very good traction out of the second to last corner there, and now he moves up into P6 of the Grand Prix. Finn running wide through the final corner there, so after all of that action on that lap, Flying Finn has ended up exactly where he started.
Indeed he has, and I'm just going to go through the back of the field at the minute, as we've not really mentioned these guys yet, but EP3 Murphy in 11th place in the McLaren, and he's got XXMGXxSoKinKy ahead of him on the soft tyres actually in P10. So I'm wondering if the super soft runners are going to try and go as long as possible on their super softs to try and potentially do a one-stop. Of course, we don't know what the super softs are like around here in these sort of conditions with the greasy track. So We don't know what's going to happen here, but at the back, we're looking down the field at the minute. We're up to 7th now, watching the Flying Finn, as you just mentioned there. Back to where he started, of course. And you've got to say, interesting, someone in the chat mentioned this, that obviously you've got Noble, who's from England, of course, and you've got the Flying Finn, who's from Finland. You've got the Finnish flag. So it's like a Hamilton-Bottas here in the team, so that's kind of cool to see that. But at the front, I think, as you mentioned, Evo looks like he's going to try and make a move here on VBR Raikkonen as he brakes very late, and he gains so much time on Raikkonen in that coming onto the long straight he goes. And is he going to get this done? Not too sure if he will. He's a bit far back than he would have liked, but we know the DRS is a bit difficult to overtake now, as it's the drag on the cars are a little bit, you know, basically the top speeds aren't going to be as quick as we've seen previous games, as he's just trying to do everything he can. And Raikkonen runs very wide actually at the hairpin and loses the position to Evo, and that could be a sign that it could be time to switch for Inters very shortly. But he's carrying on there, and I think Raikkonen may have just got the corner there, that last corner. We'll wait and see as we go along. If Matt, if you could just check the race director for any penalties at this point, and if there are, if you could provide them to the viewers so we can keep up to date with them.
There are no penalties and no track extending warnings actually. We've got STSF1 Alonso a collision with Limitless at the start, as well as Knopels with EP3 Murphy. But I was just going to say, remember, NLR Evo has just made 3 positions in 2 laps there, you know, just pouncing on mistakes from other drivers there. But I think he's done very, very well. Back up into P5 after he was a little bit of contact at turn 1 on lap 1 there. So he's making his way back up through the field. And honestly, the next car at the road is Noble, and I think he is catching him at the moment. Alonso is now all over the back of Leigh as Limitless. The gap's sort of made itself up to just over 2 seconds now, and it's sort of leveling out at about that margin.
Bamley just drifts it out of the corner there, just as I come on camera to the Renault driver, and Limitless on really doing a Sebastian Vettel-esque drive here. I've got to say, he's keeping it very clean on the circuit, even in these really mixed conditions here. And you just don't know what tyres to go on at the minute. These guys must be thinking, do I stay on dries? Is the track going to get any worse than this? Is it going to be intermediates at some point? As there is a little bit of spray coming off the back of the car. You can just see it there on the camera. And behind them, Alonso looks like he's going for a move actually on the Renault. And is he going to get it done? He does. A little bit of banging between the two there of himself and Bam Lee. And he's got it done. He's up to P2, Alonso. And that is a great sight to see a McLaren on the podium actually for a change. Of course, Matt. So great sight. But I've got to say, Alonso, good move there.
Yeah, very, very good. It seemed almost like he sort of locked up and had to move to the inside, not to run into the back of Leigh. But he made the position stick in the end. Leigh just getting caught out through that hairpin again. You know, he's getting shoved out just a little bit through there. But Alonso up into P2, looking very, very strong at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see if he now can try and close in on TRL Limitless. And also, Noble, will he be able to try and pounce on Leigh? You know, the confidence might have dipped after that little bit of a mistake there, that we know they're all so consistent on this game. That's why they're all so good, or they wouldn't be fighting right at the very front of this race. But Leigh just makes a little bit of mistake out of the hairpin there, and he gives Alonso just that little bit of breathing space that he probably would have liked. But now it's going to be interesting to see if he can try and hunt down TRL Limitless, who still leads this race 10 laps in.
Gotta say, Ben has made the switch to the intermediates. I think he's one of the first drivers to do so. So Ben is taking a...
And VBR Raikkonen. No, Raikkonen is still out, sorry, my mistake.
Yep, so Ben's taking a huge gamble, and I don't blame him actually in the position he's in. He may as well see what the sector times are, so we have to keep a very good close eye on this. If Ben's made the switch to perfection there, but it seems okay at the minute. I haven't seen him make any mistakes just yet, but the sector time is going to be interesting to see if that 43.2 seconds drops in the next sector is going to be crucial for him. But I mean, at this point, I don't blame him.
I think he's made a bad call, to be honest with you. He's ranked massively wide through the S section there.
I say, TRL Limitless just made a mistake at the hairpin as well. So, and he's actually come into the pits actually. So TRL Limitless, the first man to pit then of the race leaders, and is Alonso in. Alonso is in as well. Is Noble pitting as well? He is indeed. Bamley, everyone's pitting. Literally every single one of the top 5 are in the pit lane right now. We're going to focus on TRL Limitless then, as he's going to be going in to his pit box, on a long way for Limitless in the Sauber box. And here we go then. Can the boys get a good stop here? Here comes Bam Lee though. And no,
Limitless is on a set of mediums. So it did massively decisive call. I don't know if distinct with that. I personally felt, Tiametmarduk lost 2 seconds in the middle sector alone on that set of on the set of intermediates. So I think, to be honest, at the moment, Leigh might have made a good strategy call here. IceBergs on the set of mediums, going to have a look down the inside of STSF1 Alonso here. Unfortunately, he has to back out of the move for now, but we'll have to wait and see if he has got a lot more grip than the cars around him here. Leigh playing it very, very risky at the moment. Sorry, Limitless playing very, very risky at the moment. Then Noble on a set of mediums as well has just gone right around the outside of IceBergs there, but Noble and Limitless opting to go on the set of mediums. Alonso opted to go on a set of inters, so it's all massively strategy difference at the moment.
Indeed, it'll be nice to see. Look at the grip here. Noble had to avoid the back of the McLaren there. He's just got no grip in this middle sector, Alonso. So I think he's gone out the window there. His strategy is gone. Noble's gone down the inside as we get a great helicopter shot as he goes past the McLaren, and up to 3rd place he goes. Noble 299. He's going to try and hunt down one of his old rivals, actually, TRL Limitless, who's quite up the road, actually. I think he's around about 7 seconds away. But ESR Ryan, there he is, still leading the Grand Prix on the set of soft tyres. So he's going to go quite long into this Grand Prix. I think he may, if he can last these tyres out, could maybe go for one more stop. But we'll wait and see if anyone's going to pit, and he carries on. So the Red Bull driver going pretty well, I've got to say, Matt. So we've got some green flags out on the circuit, so someone's gone off at some point, so I'm not too sure why they've popped out, but Ryan going for the long stint.
Yeah, Ryan, he started outside the top 10, like we said before the race. That can mean if we get some changeable conditions, it could really, really help him out. But Alonso opting to stay out, as well as Leigh behind, opting to stay out on the set of the intermediate tyres at the moment. So these guys desperately want this strategy to work, as well as NLR Evo here. Raikkonen is on a set of the Supersofts down in 8th place, but where is Mr. Tiametmarduk? He is in 11th at the moment, so he has dropped way back. A really, unfortunate strategy call for him at the moment, but, if these guys, they might lose, say, 10 seconds in the next 2 laps, but they could make up 25 if the medium runners have to pit again, so this is still wide open at the moment. It's just whether, the rain continues or even gets even harder, or whether it does start to fade away.
Indeed, he only lost 8 temps though in the last lap, so that's not too bad for Ben. So maybe the switch, I'm trying to think what the word is here. The transition, really, the pace of the dry tyres to the wet down to 8 temps. Just going to see what Ben's time is here in the first sector. Again, only 2 temps lost there, so I think it's slowly, very slowly becoming wet tyres, intermediate tyres actually. So if I was like the likes of Ryan here, I would suggest considering pitting at any point now for the switch to the inters, because I think this rain is not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, Ryan, it may have been the strategy masterclass from him, because if this track does get that little bit damper, people like Limitless, they're going to make up a huge amount of time over these next couple of laps, like we said. But if they have to pit again, Ryan has effectively gained a free pit stop over near enough everybody here. The pit lane costs you just over, I think it's around about 25 seconds. And Alonso is about 21 behind Ryan at the moment. So if it does get that bit damper and Ryan's able to get a couple more laps out of his softs, he may have been able to go for the undercut of the century here.
He does, and we see JD here, TRL Limitless in P2 on the mediums. He's only 7.7 seconds away from Ryan, and we're just about coming up to the halfway stage actually, so this race has gone thick and fast already right now, as we just going to go through the tyres actually. We know Ryan is on worn softs, and then we've got Limitless and Noble on the mediums, then we've got Alonso still on those inters, and he's actually gained, you said it was 21 seconds, now the gap is 20.3, so maybe this is the time for the intermediates now to pop out now and gain a bit more advantage over the dry tyre runners. So we'll see what Alonso's sector times are going to be. So I'm going to keep a close eye on Alonso here, and funny enough, he's actually in the McLaren, which is actually ironic for his name. So we'll see how that pans out for him, as we're just going to see if Bamley's catching him. He's on the inters as well, and behind him Evo also on the inters. So these guys just off the pit lane time that you expect. So you were saying, Matt, about a 21-second pit stop, would you say?
I think it's around sort of 24, 25. But I was going to ask you quickly, we've got Bamley, that seems to be closing in on STSF1 Alonso at the moment. But if they close up to each other and then start fighting potentially, they could lose out on all the theoretical time that they could gain at the moment going on to this intermediate set of tyres. So if you were Bam Leigh at the moment, would you opt to try to attack STSF1 Alonso, or would you just try and hold back and try and make both your races work?
I think at this stage of the race, still halfway to go, you just want to just keep it out. Just keep it out of the walls, keep it away from the other cars, just keep it clean. Obviously fueled as well, you got to think about that. Maybe these drivers have underfueled the cars, maybe they've overfueled them, so that could play a mix. And even running like rich mix, for example, as you see Ryan just drifting it through turn 1. As obviously if you run rich mix, you're going to burn the rears up quite quickly out of the slow corners, and you've got to be very cautious on your rear tyres. At some certain parts of the circuit, as Ryan, I think now is starting to struggle a little bit, as TRL Limitless is now only 3.2 seconds away. So he already took 4 seconds out, and he's actually took nearly a second out in the first sector alone to Ryan. So it's only a matter of time, really, before TRL Limitless gets past Ryan, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd imagine it will most likely be down at the back straight here. But yeah, as you were saying, Limitless gained nearly 4.5 seconds on the last lap alone there. So Limitless doing a great job to try and close in on ESR Ryan. It's been a very, very risky strategy from Ryan here. But if he moves on to a set of the intermediate tyres, you know, this race is still far from over. But I think, yeah, at the moment he's going to face that Limitless is most likely going to be able to get past him in the next few corners there. Limitless takes out another 1.2 seconds in the second sector, just like he did in the first, and he's going to most likely, unless he makes a mistake, get a much better run out of this second snail section there. Unfortunately, Ryan, his tyres have just completely gone there, which is absolutely gutted for him. But he might have a slipstream, actually, on TRL Limitless. I doubt he'll go for any moves because he's got such less grip. But yeah, Limitless now moves back up into the lead of the race here. But it's going to be interesting to see what Ryan opts to do now, because his tyres are completely gone.
Indeed they have, and we'll see if he's going to... if I was him, I would try and just try out of the boxes. Actually, Limitless runs very wide out of the hairpin, so... And actually, Ryan just loses it as well at the back end. And is he going to go in? No, he's staying out. As actually Ryan takes the gamble. He's pitting this lap. And the question is, what is he going to go on? We're about to find out as the Red Bull driver heads in to pit road, and just making sure he's got the pit limiter on, as that has been introduced into the game this year, actually. So it's a great introduction. He's going on to the intermediates. Massive gamble this. We've seen some of the intermediate runners struggling a little bit. So we'll see if this is going to work out. And if it is that wet, we shall see as the likes of Evo, Bam, and also Alonso have got through, unfortunately. So Ryan's strategy hasn't really worked for him today. But I will say, Alonso is catching up to Knopels very quickly, and he's on the back of him, actually. He's about under a second, actually. So could we see now the top two of Limitless and Knopels pitting this lap? They surely have to react now to these intermediate runners, especially TRL Limitless.
Well, yeah, Alonso, as Knopels runs wide there, out of the corner, Alonso is just going to pounce on that opportunity and move up into P2 of the Grand Prix. But he took over 2 seconds out of Limitless in the final sector of the last lap alone. Obviously, Limitless did make that mistake as well, but he's taken out about another 7/10 in the first few corners, in the first sector of this lap. But yeah, Knopels making a couple of little mistakes there and to fight the car so much. Leigh now just going to have an open door entirely to move up past the inside of the Mercedes. They're nearly making contact between the pair of them there, but Knopels has, unfortunately, the intermediate tyres have now completely overtaken in terms of raw pace over the set of the mediums. Now NLR Evo is going to make the move as well, just go for a cheeky switchback move on the 5-time ALR champion here. But Limitless and Knopels are going to have to pit now onto a set of the intermediate tyres, and Alonso will therefore inherit the lead of the Grand Prix, with Bam Leigh still right behind him. He's about 1.8 seconds back at the moment. So this is looking very good for him and Leigh. But obviously NLR Evo, he's gone from near enough the back of the field back up to these guys. So what a story that would be. He's been able to close in on this pair over the last few laps, and what a story that would be if he was able to come through and re-inherit the lead of the race.
I've got to say, TRL Limitless is staying out, and Alonso just took another 2 seconds out of him. I don't know what TRL Limitless' strategy is, but I would not be staying out if I was him. And even Knopels is staying out as well. And I don't know what these guys are doing, actually. It is too wet. I don't know what they're doing. They're just ruining their strategies a little bit, or they're just hoping that maybe they've had a little word from Jeff saying that it's going to be, maybe the rain's going to stop in a few minutes. We do not know if it's going to improve or not, but this is not good. And actually, I think, no, I thought for a second there, Limitless was overtaken by Alonso, but it was the other McLaren. in shot. So I got a little bit excited there that Alonso gained almost 5 seconds on Limitless in one sector there. But
Alonso did actually gain 1.5 though still, so it's certainly not the right time to be on that set of medium tyres. But as you said, you know, if Jeff's given him a little word that the rain might stop, then if they try and stay out just for now, then it would be very, very interesting to see.
Indeed, indeed. As what were you going to say there, Matt?
Oh, I was just going to say, Alonso through the second sector, 2.7 seconds he's closed in on Limitless in that second sector alone there. So yeah, it just fully confirms that at the moment this is looking very, very good for Alonso, Leigh, and Evo. But these guys could be on the podium, but if it dries out again and they have to make another pit stop, then Limitless, he's had to brave it out. I think it is, to be honest, getting a little bit drier on track again. So if he can brave it out potentially, if the rain just completely stops now on the track, this track does dry up very, very quickly as he runs massively wide on the exit of the hairpin there. He just cannot get the steering lock in. But yeah, this is looking brilliant for Alonso.
He's going in.
He dives it into the pits, yes, and down. Now he runs a little bit wide there. Luckily, obviously, that is concrete and not gravel anymore. But will he get the car slowed down very, very early there from Limitless? Goes into the pits at 30 miles an hour just to make sure. But yeah, that is not looking good for him. And Noble is diving it into the pit lane as well.
Indeed. Maybe they're thinking the inters won't last to the end of the race like some guys did, like pitted earlier. So maybe that's why they stayed out. But you never know if this rain's going to dry up or not. We'll wait and see. As TRL Limitless comes out of his box, then he's going to come out in P7 in clean air as well, which is crucial for. And he may have just cut the white line there. I'm not too sure if that is if he did or not, but it looked pretty close. As we'll see Noble come out then in P9, and he takes it very smoothly. And he comes out in 11th place, just behind VBR Raikkonen, and his teammates actually got off the circuit as well, the Icebergs, and he's dropped down to 11th unfortunately. So nice little bit of maybe we could see an inter-team battle between the two Toro Rossos in this one, as he has a nice little drift as well out of the corner. And Noble moves up to 9th place as he's going side by side with VBR Raikkonen, and he gets the job done late on the brakes, has the inside and gets it done. But VBR looking for a switchback, and he's just not going to have enough there unfortunately, and Noble moves up to 9th there. But this, I feel now, is going to be the crucial part of this Grand Prix here, Matt. Fresh inters versus old inters. This is going to be quite intriguing for the last 12 laps here. I don't know who your money's on, but it's going to be very, very close.
Very, very close at the moment. The next car up the road for Noble will be Tiametmarduk there. He's got about 5 seconds to him, but Ben, I don't think he's pitted again, so his tyres will be very, very worn at the moment. Limitless came out in P7 there, for those that are wondering. 23 seconds off the race lead there, and SoKinKy up to P6 in the Grand Prix, looking very, very solid at the moment. Ryan, still, we said about how he looked like his race had completely turned upside down. He's still up in P4, so this has worked out still very, very well for Ryan if he's able to hold on to a position this high up. But he's got the flying Finn, the double champion, the reigning champion, closing down on him at the moment. And the top 3 still are Evo, who is closing in, as I think Leigh is actually all over the back of Alonso now, right at the very front of the field.
Indeed, we're going to go on board then, and he's actually gone ahead. Just missed it off camera, unfortunately. And yeah, so this is going to be intriguing right now. As and there's a McLaren going off the circuit there. For a second, I thought it was Alonso, but it's his teammate. That was a bit of a scary moment there. I wouldn't like to be the McLaren boys right now. If you see that, Eric Boudier will be thinking, what are these two doing if they take each other out? We could see a Red Bull 2010 moment again there, which we didn't want to see. But yeah, Alonso seems to be confident at the minute, and got Bamley all over the place. It's been a bit of a weird race, this one, chaotic as well with the strategies as well. All sorts going on in this Grand Prix. I don't know who's going to win this. We don't know who's. We've got old people on old inters, and actually Alonso runs very wide as well coming into the second snail section of the circuit. And I've got to say, Evo, I think for him at this point with nearly 10 laps to go, he can just hold it back for a little bit, save a little bit of fuel, save a bit of tyre wear, and watch these two ahead of him fight away, because they could make contact, they could go off the circuit, take each other out of the Grand Prix, and Evo can just go down the inside. Thank you very much. And actually, we could see an overtake going on right now. Bamley looked like he was going for a move, but backs out of it and stays in position. But really, it's going to be quite interesting right now. And you can't count Ryan out as well. Yes, he's 13.5 seconds away, but he is on fresh.
Alonso dives it into the pits once more there. Sorry to cut over you there, but Alonso dives it in. So Leigh now re-inherits the lead of the Grand Prix there with Evo moving over to P2. He's dropped back a little bit at the moment, but I was just going to say, actually, this was really going to benefit Evo, but now it certainly doesn't. Family will have a little bit of a chance to break away, but what tyres is Alonso going to go on to? Using another set of the intermediate tyres there, but sorry, I'll let you continue talking.
Yeah, this is what I was just thinking about just in the last few moments, actually, with Limitless and Noble pitting. Maybe they thought that the tyres won't last. Well, that's why I think they stayed out long enough, because they're thinking the Inters won't last to the end of the Grand Prix. So some of these guys who pitted on the Inters in the first part of the race may have to pit again, like Alonso's just proven. So you can say Limitless and Noble back in the fight for the win, but you got to count Ryan as well. He pitted roughly about, I think, a couple of laps before Noble and TRL Limitless. So he has got fresh tyres on him, and he's got a nice gap, as Limitless has got XXMGXxSoKinKy ahead of him. So it would depend how quickly Limitless can get past the Red Bull driver. It's crucial he gets past him, of course, if he wants to have a chance of winning this race. With only just under 10 laps to go, this could be very interesting to see if anyone of the top 5 really stay out and go all the way to the end on their used Inters and risk a puncher. We will have to wait and see, as Limitless gets very, very close now to the back of the Red Bull of XXMGXxSoKinKy, and he's going to hold it back off out and nearly gets onto the back of the diffuser of that Red Bull, just about there, and there's a little bit of contact there, but nothing too serious, no damage as you can see, and Limitless goes down the inside of XXMGXxSoKinKy and now has a clear run now to try and hunt down the next man ahead of him, which I believe is ESR Ryan, who has got about a couple of seconds there, but he's not far away from Evo and Leigh, actually, as they are still fighting away for the lead of the Grand Prix. Very close between them, about 3 attempts between the top 2. And these two really, if they're going to have a chance of winning this race, they've got to stay out.
Yeah, it's sort of do or die at the moment. But you know, it's 3 race. It's not just this one race. Remember, it is a 3-race mini season. So do they risk, you know, losing out on say 12 points if they come through in P4, or do they just try and stay out and go for the full 25? I think what's critical for the moment to save both their races, you know, even though they're not teammates, do they really want to be fighting? You know, just putting even more pressure on their tyres, giving Ryan a much bigger chance to close up. He's taken about half a second out of them in the last lap, if I'm not mistaken. So, would you fight if you ran NLR Evo at the moment?
It's a tough call, this one, I've got to say. Do you risk being aggressive and taking the Renault out and obviously getting damage? Do you play the conservative role? Maybe, obviously, if he's going to the end, he's got to preserve them. I can actually see Evo short shifting, actually, as well, out of the corners. So he's trying to save as much rear degradation as possible to the end of the race. And I think Leigh will probably be doing the same thing. For him, he's just got to really just use lean for most of the lap, and then on the straights, just use up rich mix to hopefully keep the Ferrari behind him. We'll have to wait and see what he does, but got a great shot of the back of the Ferrari then, and look at you can just see behind, clear track ahead. Well, basically these two are on their own, basically, as Ryan is just popped onto the back straight now, and he's got about 12 seconds to catch up on, so he's gaining on these two, and we'll just see if he's going to go on board with the Ferrari, if these guys are going to pit. Nope, they're staying out. They're going to carry on, and that clearly indicates to me that these two are going to try and go to the end on one set of Inters, which would be very, very impressive if they can get there.
Yeah, and obviously if they do and it all goes wrong, Ryan and Limitless are in a prime position to try and make as much time out of this as they possibly can. Interestingly though, Alonso actually just a couple of seconds behind TRL Limitless at the moment, and Noble now, he's definitely got the jump on Ben. Ben, I think, may have pitted again. Yeah, Ben's back on a set of the softs there. So interesting strategy calls from Ben. He was the first one to go onto the Inters. Now he's the first one back onto the dries there. So going to be interesting to see how well he does fare with that. But Noble is about 14 seconds behind TRL Limitless and STSF1 Alonso at the moment. So I think really, at the rate it's going, you know, if the top two have some issues, he might only be able to get P4 in this race, unless, you know, Ryan, I think he's played such a different strategy in this game. This could honestly look for Ryan like he could win this race in my eyes.
Yeah, but you got to count Limitless. He's only 5 seconds away.
Limitless certainly is closing in.
He is closing. You got to count Alonso as well in this fight. He's not that far away from JD, as he actually runs just a little bit wide there, just going a little bit over the curbs there, and maybe picking a bit of grass, and may have just lost the back end a little bit. But you can't count out the McLaren driver in this race, and obviously you got Ryan as well. He's impressed me not because he's got the same name as me, but his strategy has actually been quite a good one. The soft tyres he started on, the rain came, intensified, came in at the right time, and he's now obviously on the podium at the minute and could even win this, even still be on the podium once the top two pit, if they do, or if they pick up a puncher. We will have to wait and see, but I think it's starting to dry up. I think the rain has slowly become light rain. Like spitting.
It's coming back into drizzle, yeah.
It's coming back to drizzle territory, so maybe Ben's strategy could work in this race. I'm going to just keep an eye on the gap at the minute. He's a minute and 11 behind, but if that drops, then that is a clear sign to the viewers and ourselves that it is that strategy. Maybe Ben has had a call from Jeff, the engineer, telling him to pit, maybe, and the rain may be improving. Maybe the track's going to dramatically become dry enough for the softs. We'll wait and see. As we're going to see if the time's going to drop, and it only by 0.3 of a second though. So it is getting close to the transition to dry tyres. So another twist has been thrown into the mix in this first round of the Esports League. Oh, this is going to be... We don't know what's going to transpire.
I'll tell you what, you want to be on board with P7 at the moment. I just watched Finn go for a move down the inside of VBR Raikkonen, and now, if you go on board with Flying Finn, he is about to go up against Noble2909, 5-time AOR champion versus 2-time AOR champion. This was the battle everyone, I think, wanted to see, and although it's probably not in the positions anyone really expected, fighting over single points at the moment, this could still be an absolutely titanic battle, Ryan. So if you stay on board with that, I'll have a look back up the field, see if there's still any changing going on.
Indeed, and a lot of people over Twitter have been talking about these two drivers. These two are probably the two best drivers on the Xbox, in my personal opinion. You've got, as you mentioned, a 5-time AOR champion, and the Flying Finn, a 2-time AOR champion as well. And obviously very talented at what they do. Of course, Noble is taking part in the World's Fastest Gamer event. He's in the finals for that, so obviously we wish him the best of luck for that. And obviously a veteran of AOR, so he's been very kindly invited back into this. And also Flying Finn as well. Also, got to mention VBR Raikkonen keeping a little close eye on this battle between the two Mercedes. Hopefully we won't see a Nico Rosberg-Hamilton moment that we saw in Spain in 2016. We hope not to see it, as he's actually got DRS actually on Noble, and he's going to go and attempt the outside, but no, he's going for a late lunge into the inside line. What a move from the Flying Finn, and moves ahead of Noble, but Noble has a good exit as well. They're going to go side by side into the last corner. Who's going to blink first? Flying Finn goes into the pits actually, so he's going to maybe go onto the dries and runs very wide. VBR Raikkonen also in the pit lane, and it has stopped raining in the last sector, Matt. This is going to be the switchover right now, and they've got to take a risk now, these mid-pack. And he's going on the super soft tyres, is Noble. Actually, the Flying Finn, sorry. And this is going to get very tasty with nearly 6 laps to go, Matt. I don't know who your money's on, but this is going to get intense.
Well, Evo and Leigh have both actually been able to pit out onto a set of the super soft tyres here, so I think the battle for the win will most likely between these two now. But ESR Ryan is in P4. He'll effectively be in P3 when Noble opts to make that pit stop. But Flying Finn, I think we should go back to that move. You can't do that to a 5-time AOR champion, surely. That was absolutely incredible. That was Ricciardo-esque back at Italy a couple of times. But just behind me, I think we've got Alonso and... Sorry, that was Alonso and EP3 Murphy, actually, right next to each other. I thought it was Alonso and TRL Limitless there. Unfortunately, the McLaren. Two McLaren seem to be really close to each other, just 1 lap apart throughout a lot of this Grand Prix. So EP3 Murphy has been playing, playing a few illusions on the rest of the field here. But yeah, Ryan is P4, Noble P3 though, and Noble's tyres have completely gone now. Unfortunately, he's run a little bit wide in towards the second snail section there, just completely backs out of that move. But can Ryan hold on ahead of TRL Limitless and STSF1 Alonso to get a massively unexpected podium from outside the top 10 on the grid?
It will be a great fairy tale ending in this Grand Prix for him. And remember, this is only one race. We've still got another 2 rounds after this. So some of these drivers, if they stay relatively in the top 5, they may have still have... Well, actually, I'll take that back. Maybe the top 10. If anyone's in the points in the first round, they have a good chance, actually, of going through, because you never know what could happen. People may retire. People may get disconnections in the race, as we see Noble going into the pits, as we just see there from a glance there. We're going to see if he's going to go into the super softs. I'm pretty sure he will, with only 5 laps to go when he crosses the line. And we'll see if the Mercedes team can get him a good pit stop here and get him back on his merry ways and keep him in the fight for some points. It's a good stop there from the McLaren. I was going to say McLaren then. Don't know why I said that. The Mercedes and pops out in, I think he's going to pop out somewhere in P8, P9. We'll see where Ben is. He's coming into the final corner.
Noble, he's lost about 10 seconds to his teammate Finn there, which really has cost him massively there. Obviously, I don't really know if Mercedes' team strategies will come into play there. I highly doubt it. You know, both these guys, it's not really a team race, this is it. It's more about trying to get yourself through into the finals there. But yeah, Noble, I don't think any of us expected him to be down in P8 at the moment, and I think, to be honest, the car ahead of him, VBR Raikkonen, is, what, nearly about 6-7 seconds up the road, so it's going to be a very tall order for him to try and close back up to him. But Ben, yeah, just behind him here, he's got icebergs and SoKinKy piling on the pressure as well, so they're fighting for the last couple of points at the moment of this race, but going to be interesting at the front still. I think Leigh is starting to make a little bit of a gap to NLR Evo, and then we've still got Ryan trying to hold on, but Limitless now has the slipstream, has the DRS. He's going to look to the outside, down in towards the hairpin here. Limitless, he's going to have that move. Yeah, he should have that. Ryan
easily done.
Breaks nice and early there. Very, very well judged from Ryan. You know, just trying back at the position, focus on, you know, not risking it, trying to score decent points in the first race of the series there. But whether he goes back on the attack, we shall wait and see. But, you know, he's got STSF1 Alonso right behind him as well, but 5th place would still be a massive result for ESR Ryan.
Indeed, and obviously down the field, I want to keep an eye on this battle actually between Tiametmarduk and icebergs and XXMGXxSoKinKy. I keep saying the two Ben and Tiametmarduk, and actually I think icebergs is going for a move and backs out of it just about there, but both him and XXMGXxSoKinKy are on the set of the super softs, where Ben is on the set of the soft tyres, and he's been on them for quite a little bit of time, so he's going to be under pressure massively from these two drivers, and this is for 9th place in this race. So I think Ben's going to be in a little bit of bother here, but he's only got about, what, 4 laps to go to try and hold on and try and score at least a point for the Australian, and he's trying his very best. He's holding it nicely though. He's defending very, very brilliantly, I've got to say, as he's holding on from XXMGXxSoKinKy and icebergs at this minute. So that could get a little bit tasty between them two, but at the front we're going to go back up to them. And as you said, I think Leigh now starting to build a little bit of a gap. The gap is 1.1 seconds, and I'm just thinking Evo's not going to get DRS unfortunately, so he's outside that DRS zone as they approach 3 laps to go in this race. It looks like first and second has been confirmed at this point. I think Limitless is too far away, and actually we see Alonso going for a move on Ryan, and Ryan respectively backs out of it, doesn't want to make any form of contact, doesn't want to risk a decent finish on him. But P5 is not bad for the Red Bull driver considering the strategy he went with there, Matt. And you've got to say he's in good contention for driver of the day, you would say.
Yeah, I think for me personally, with obviously there's still a lot can happen in the final 3 laps of this race, but for me personally, I think that would either have to be him or NRL Evo. I think it's very easy to think, you know, Evo started right at the front, but remember, he was the Ferrari that was sent sideways on the exit of turn 1 and was sent way to the back of the field. So, you know, for him to be within, you know, 1.5 seconds of Bamley after all of this that has gone on, you know, between Evo and Ryan, they have both had tremendous races today.
They have, so we'll be interesting to see what the chat think. We will be seeing who they think deserves driver of the day, but for me, it's a tough decision to make. There's a few candidates, but for me, I'm going to go with Ryan just for the strategy he did. Risky one to take with the softs, with the rain around. He's worked it out to perfection. Yes, he's in P5, not like first or second or third on the podium, but he's played it very nicely. He's been very clean as well. If someone's going for a move, he's been very respectful, and he's just doing his own race, and I think he's done a stellar job today. And a lot of the chat have mentioned Ryan as well, and people are saying Evo as well, Limitless. There's plenty of votes for Ryan and Evo at the minute, so it'll be pretty interesting to see who overall will win it. So Alonso is actually catching very quickly actually to it's Limitless actually, so this could get interesting actually with as Leigh gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix of 35.9, so the times will start to drop off massively right now, but the battle for the final podium position is going to get even more interesting right now, as this could get very tasty between Alonso, as actually he does get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix actually from Limitless for a short time there. So Limitless can have a little moment of glory, and he's on the soft tyres actually, is Limitless compared to Alonso's super softs. So it would depend really on how long the super softs can last really for Alonso, if they can be very durable at the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. We've still got 2 laps to go though, so we've still got a chance here, Matt, but Who do you think will get that final podium position?
Oh, I think I'm going to have to say Limitless, solely for the fact that I just watched Alonso make a tiny little lock up there, but I think, you know, with 2 laps to go of this race and 2 drivers of such high caliber, any small mistakes like that can make all the difference. But Limitless is looking strong, and if Alonso gets past in this lap, then Limitless, will have a chance to go back at him on the final lap of the Grand Prix. I sort of wanted to talk about Tiametmarduk as well. He's obviously got IceBergs and SoKinKy still just behind him. IceBergs actually lost out to SoKinKy last lap, and I think he might try and pile on the pressure to Ben as well at the moment. But I think Ben is holding on quite nicely, and I think, you know, we sort of want to try and focus as much as we can on the guys right at the very front. Bamley and NLR Evo. Evo's closed back in, actually, on these last couple of laps, so he's piling on the pressure still, but I think it's going to be these two, unless they make contact on the final lap, that are going to come through. Leigh actually runs wide, so if you focus on them, I'll have a quick look through the penalties.
And he actually gets the fastest lap. Actually, Evo gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. On to the last lap then. The gap is 1.1 seconds, so there could be another twist in the tail. Maybe Commentators curse could come in if I mentioned that Leigh could have a puncher, which they don't want, as Alonso now pops into the 34s, and he's going to try and get... He's actually got past Limitless, actually,
yeah,
Matt,
he got past him, I think, down the straight, I would imagine. So Limitless, you know, if he can stay very close to him, he will still have a chance, you know, on the final back straight of this race. But yeah, I think there's so much to focus on. We got Evo closing in on Leigh for the win. We've got Limitless and Alonso still right next to each other. Ryan, I think, is being close. I don't think he'll get actually... No, he won't. Finn, sorry, is about 9 seconds still behind him there. But 2 big battles right at the very front for a lot of points on offer here. But I think, to be honest, Evo is looking like he's made a bit of a mistake, so he's dropped back from Bamley. But I think Alonso and Limitless is going to be the action we want to stay on board with for the final half a lap of this Chinese Grand Prix.
We're going to go to the leaders then. Here they come then, as they're coming to the final sector. And I think Leigh has got this in the bag, I feel. I think Evo's too far back. And I think now they'll just take it easy here. We know Leigh's going to be in a great shot here of the semi-finals, getting the full for first place, of course, in the points. And there's a little bit of a lock-up there. And actually, Evo gets very, very close. But here comes Bamley then into the final corner. And he will be the first winner of the first round of the F1 Esports Series on Xbox One. A brilliant drive, and I've got to say a perfect performance for him, as Evo comes in second place with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well. Alonso's going to come home in P3 just ahead of TRL Limitless, and I've got to say, Limitless maybe should have pitted a little bit earlier. That may be in question, we'll have to wait and see. Ryan, though, a stellar job in P5. Fantastic job from him in the Red Bull, I've got to give him that. Matt, do you want to take us through the rest of the field?
Yeah, so we have him in P5, Flying Finn down in P6, something we definitely don't say very often, but Noble2909, unfortunately I think he made a bit of a mistake right at the very... No, sorry, he pitted, didn't he? So he comes through, the 5-time AOR champion, down in just P8 there. Obviously a very, very interesting race on the whole, but he was only just able to beat Tiametmarduk there. He comes through P9 with SoKinKy and IceBergs all over the back of him, yeah, through that final corner there. SoKinKy pushes IceBergs nearly into the wall. Very, very aggressive between the pair of them there. But yeah, overall, a very, very interesting race on the whole. So many different changes throughout. You know, we had the wet period, the dry period, and two times during the middle where anything could happen. But yeah, absolutely crazy on the whole. A brilliant, brilliant race to commentate over.
And there's your podium, and there is your race winner. Leigh wins it, and he's going to be happy. The Renault team, look at them. They're all happy to see their man on the top step of the podium. But I think it's time for the chat to say who the driver of the day was. So let us know in the chat, and we'll try and pick out a winner as well. And then, obviously, now the race is over, Matt, who would you definitely now confirm as your driver of the day for this race?
I'm going to have to go Evo, to be honest. As much as I want to say Ryan as well, I think I'm going to have to go Evo. You know, he was able to remain that close to Leigh after being taken out of turn 1. Don't get me wrong, Ryan did a fantastic job from P13 on the grid, but yeah, NLR Evo gets my driver of the day, surely.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Ryan, and the chat is absolutely blowing up right now. There's a lot of for Evo, lots for Ryan as well. There's a couple of Alonso ones in there, Ben as well. There's a Max Verstappen one as well in the chat, which is good. But there's your results then. Matt, do you want to take us through the classifications then for this first round?
So yeah, Bamley able to take home the race victory there from first on the grid there. So he got pole position and the race win. Unfortunately, couldn't do the triple with fastest lap. As NLR Evo from P3 on the grid, did actually move up to get P2 overall, obviously after that contact that we spoke about at the start with fastest lap of the Grand Prix. STSF1 Alonso able to round out the podium there after being able to edge out TRL Limitless by just 0.8 of a second there. He'll be a bit gutted to miss out on the podium in the end. ESR Ryan did very, very well to end up in P5 with Finn P6 on a 3-stop strategy, Raikkonen P7, Noble 2909 in P8 there, just ahead of Tiametmarduk. SoKinKy rounded out the top 10 there with Icebergs, EP3 Murphy rounding out the field.
And obviously Lance Stroll apparently makes an appearance in the series, so that's great to see as well. We know it's not him. But that has been the first race of the season, guys, in this F1 Esports Series. We hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, with the issues we had at the start of the broadcast, we've hopefully now all sorted them out there. And I think it's time that we wrap this one up, Matt. So, you won't have to wait long because tomorrow is the PC side as well for the Esports Series. And then on Thursday will be the PS4 as well. So you've got plenty of action coming up this week. And next week on the Xbox side, we'll be heading to Bahrain for the second round of the series. But I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for coming out to this one. We've had some good viewership in this one, considering the issues we had at the start of this broadcast. So we do apologise, and hopefully now we have fixed the issues in future, and hopefully Xbox Live will be very nice to us next week, of course. Matt, I want to say a massive thank you to you for joining me in the booth as always, and obviously great to have you on board. And I want to give a shout out to Cody's co-masters and F1 for getting this all sorted out for us as well. So Matt, I will give you the closing sequence here, so off you pop.
Yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, as Ryan said, we can only apologise for the few little issues that happened at the start of the stream, but I think we can both agree the race that we were given after all of that was certainly worth it. But yeah, obviously don't forget to come back to this channel tomorrow to check out the PC side. Once again at China, going to be very, very interesting to see how well the drivers from over there do fare. But thank you again to Ryan for commentating as well. Thank you to Co-Masters. Thank you to Formula One. And it was absolutely brilliant to commentate over such an incredible race like that. But yep, thank you everyone as well for watching this stream. And we will hopefully see you all tomorrow for the PC side with King Kodiak and one of the fan favourites, Fake Ghost Pirate.
Indeed. So until tomorrow, guys, we will see you for the PC broadcast. And from myself and Matt, we shall see you next week for round 2 in Bahrain. From us, it's goodbye for now, and we'll see you next time.